The first letter from the HOA arrived on a Wednesday morning, and the moment I tore the envelope open, I felt my jaw tighten like a vice. The paper was thick, the kind they use when they want to intimidate you with the texture alone. Your road must be paved within 60 days, the notice said, bolded and underlined like a threat carved into stone. I stared at the words, feeling heat rise in my chest. My road wasn't even under HOA jurisdiction. It wasn't even in the HOA, but that had never stopped them before. I stepped outside with the letter still in my hand and looked down the long stretch of gravel that led from my gate to the county-maintained rural route. Heat shimmered above it in a wavering mirage, and dust curled lazily in the air as a truck passed far away on the main road. This land had belonged to my family for 40 years. The deed said rural use. The county permit allowed gravel surfacing, and the township had signed off on the easement long before any HOA ever dreamed of existing. But the suburban development that sprang up next to my acreage had been looking for ways to push me out for years. I folded the letter, slid it into my back pocket, and climbed into my truck. The cab smelled like old leather and pine dust, a scent that reminded me of my father working beside me. He'd always warned me that people with too much time and too little land were dangerous. He used to say, "Son, never underestimate a man who thinks property lines are just suggestions." I didn't understand it then, but I did now. At the county office, the clerk recognized me the moment I walked in. "Morning, Caleb," she said, adjusting her glasses. Her name was Marta, and she'd been working this desk since I was a kid. "You got that look. Someone bothering you again?" I laid the letter on the counter. "They're trying to make me pave the road," I said. She picked it up, skimmed it, and let out a short laugh. "They don't have that authority. Your land's not part of their covenant." "I know," I said. "But they're acting like they do." She tapped her keyboard, pulled up my parcel information, and printed out several documents: my zoning classification, the county's rural roadway surface allowance, and the easement permit recorded in 1981. She slid them toward me and said, "Show them this, and tell them nicely to mind their business." I thanked her, though a part of me knew it wouldn't be that easy. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the oak trees, I found another letter taped to my gate. This one wasn't official. It was handwritten, angry, and dripping with entitlement. "You're lowering all our property values," it said. "Pave your road or we'll take further action." No signature, just cowardice. I read it twice, then a third time, feeling something cold settle deep in my stomach. Revenge doesn't spark like a firecracker. It starts as a slow, deliberate burn. And that burn began the moment I folded the anonymous note and tucked it into the glove box next to the official HOA letter. Evidence, I told myself. Everything is evidence. 2 days later, the first incident happened. I woke up to the sound of multiple engines rumbling near my front pasture. When I stepped outside, I saw 3 HOA board members standing in the middle of my road with a clipboard, a measuring tape, and a camera. They were trespassing. They knew it, and they didn't care. I approached them slowly, boots crunching on gravel, trying to keep my voice steady. "You fellas lost?" I asked. The man in the middle, someone I recognized as Daniel Pierce, the self-appointed president of the HOA, crossed his arms. "No," he said. "We're documenting the known compliance of this roadway." "Known compliance with what?" I asked. "My land isn't under your jurisdiction." He smiled in the way a wolf might smile if it learned to stand upright. "It affects our community," he said. "And under subsection," I cut him off. "You're trespassing." He ignored that and snapped a picture of me. The click of the camera felt like a trigger being pulled. Something inside me shifted. Pierce turned to his companions. "We'll submit this to legal," he announced, loud enough for me to hear. "Once we prove his road is a nuisance, the county will force his compliance." I felt fury surge so suddenly that my hands shook. "You don't get to rewrite county law," I said. "You don't get to bully me." He smirked. "Watch us." I took out my phone and recorded them on my land. I panned across their faces, the license plates of their 2 golf carts illegally parked on my property, and the sign that clearly said private road no trespassing. Pierce stepped toward me like he planned to block my recording, but I didn't move. I said one word, slow and deliberate. "Lawsuit." He stiffened. Maybe no one had ever threatened him back. Bullying works best on people who don't fight. I wasn't one of them. They left eventually, kicking up dust as they retreated back into their manicured kingdom. I watched the dust rise, watched it travel across the air like a signal fire. My blood still buzzed with anger. This wasn't just an annoyance anymore. This was war. For the next week, the tension rose like floodwater. Every day brought a new provocation. I found tire tracks where someone had spun circles in my gravel, as if mocking it. An HOA board member emailed me a fake invoice, demanding $8,400 for road improvement fees. A lawyer, likely one of their buddies, sent a letter insisting I submit to a compliance inspection, which I immediately forwarded to my attorney. And then the small things started disappearing. A gate hinge, a reflector post. One morning, even a section of my mailbox was gone. I documented everything: dates, times, photos, videos. I kept a folder labeled HOA harassment, and each night I sat at my kitchen table adding more to it. With every piece of evidence, my determination sharpened like a blade being honed. I wasn't just defending my land anymore. I was preparing something bigger, something calculated, something that would make them regret ever stepping onto my property. Because revenge is an art, and I was ready to start painting. The escalation began the morning I found the Orange County flagging stakes hammered into my roadside ditch like someone was preparing for a construction project that didn't exist. Each stake had a fluorescent ribbon flapping in the breeze, bright and taunting against the dull gray gravel. I crouched down, touched one, and felt my stomach clench. Someone wanted it to look official. Someone wanted me to panic. I yanked one of the stakes out of the ground and carried it straight to the county engineering office. The receptionist blinked when she saw it. That's not ours," she said. A county engineer named Ellison came out a few minutes later, rubbing sleep from his eyes as though he'd just finished a coffee break. "Where'd you get that?" he asked. "My property ditch," I said. "Right by my easement." Ellison turned the stake over in his hands, frowned, and shook his head. "Not county issue. Whoever put this there wanted it to look like a planned paving project." "HOA?" I asked, though we both knew the answer. He sighed. "They've emailed us about your road 4 times this month." "I figured," I said. He handed the stake back. "Document it. This isn't lawful activity." By the time I got home, 2 more emails had landed in my inbox. Both from the HOS Community Standards Committee, a phrase that always made me think of a witch trial. One accused me of violating aesthetic norms. The other threatened further administrative actions. Their desperation was starting to show. Cornered people scramble, but arrogant people double down. That afternoon, I set up 2 trail cameras, one at the start of the road, one near the bend that curves toward my barns. No one knew they were there except me. They were silent witnesses, patient observers, the kind of friends you rely on when humans can't be trusted. The first footage came that very night. At 1:47 a.m., headlights swept across the gravel. A golf cart, of course. It was a golf cart rolled onto my property. 2 figures climbed out. The video caught their faces clearly when one turned toward the camera's infrared glow. Daniel Pierce and his vice president, a wiry man named Trevor, who always carried a clipboard like it was part of his anatomy. They walked the length of my road with flashlights, stopping every so often to take pictures or jot something down. At one point, Pierce kicked my gravel like he was trying to prove dominance over inanimate objects. The absurdity almost made me laugh. Almost. The next morning, I downloaded the footage and saved it in my HOA harassment folder. My lawyer, Janelle, reviewed it over Zoom. She rubbed her temples as she watched. "They're idiots," she said. "I mean legally incompetent. This is blatant trespassing and targeted harassment." "This is just the beginning," I said. She leaned closer to her screen. "Caleb, do not confront them directly. Not yet. You let the evidence build. Let them bury themselves." I nodded. "I'm way ahead of you." Over the next week, the evidence piled up like kindling before a bonfire. A neighbor texted me a screenshot of a thread from the HOA's private Facebook group. They were discussing me openly. My land, my road, my supposed refusal to cooperate. One board member wrote, "We need to force him to comply. The county will side with us if we make enough noise." I saved every screenshot. Then came the biggest piece of evidence yet. An email thread accidentally forwarded to me by one of the HOA committee members. Someone who apparently clicked reply all without thinking. In it, Pierce outlined a strategic pressure plan that included falsifying safety concerns about my road, claiming emergency vehicles couldn't access it, and petitioning the county to mandate paving for community cohesion. They even discussed staging blocked access photos by parking cars across my easement. It was conspiracy, plain as day, and they sent it to me. I sat at my kitchen table reading the thread over and over, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger, not anymore. This was precision. This was clarity. What I planned started forming in my mind like a blueprint unfolding. I didn't want petty revenge. I wanted something measured, something legal, something final. Step 1. I organized all evidence chronologically, labeled, time-stamped, and backed up on 2 hard drives. Every picture, every letter, every video clip, every email, every footprint they left on my land, literal or digital. Janelle told me, "Judges appreciate neatness. Give them a tidy hammer, and they'll swing it." Step 2. I reached out to the county commissioner for my district. He'd known my father. He remembered hunting with him. I showed him only a fraction of the harassment. He looked disgusted. "We've had enough complaints from them," he said. "They're overstepping. They've been warned before. I need official confirmation once and for all that my road is compliant under Rural Property Code," I said. "You'll have it," he said. Step 3. The Environmental Impact Report. I hired a licensed geotechnical surveyor to inspect my road and soil composition. He produced a detailed report stating that paving would increase runoff, cause erosion, and negatively impact the watershed. The county would never approve paving under those conditions. The HOA didn't know that yet. Step 4. Infiltration. A neighbor not part of the HOA, but living close enough to hear chatter, agreed to attend their open meetings as a community guest. She recorded audio of Pierce claiming, "We are pushing him out one way or another." His voice carried the smug confidence of someone who believed consequences were for other people. When she sent me the audio, my plan crystallized completely. What I needed wasn't drama. It wasn't shouting. It wasn't confrontation in the street. I wanted a legal reckoning so clean and unavoidable that even Pierce would feel it carved through the air like a guillotine blade. My plan, in its simplest form, was this: let them escalate. Let them trespass. Let them document their own downfall. And then take everything they tried to use against me and turn it into a weapon in the courtroom. Because revenge isn't loud. Revenge is patient. Revenge waits until the moment when silence becomes a trap with no way out. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the growing mountain of evidence on my laptop screen. "You wanted a fight," I whispered. "Fine." A slow smile crept across my face. "Let's fight." The execution of my plan began on a quiet Thursday morning, the kind of morning where the air feels still enough to hear your own heartbeat. I woke before sunrise, brewed coffee that tasted sharper than usual, and opened the HOA harassment folder one more time. Every file stared back at me like a weapon waiting to be drawn. I wasn't nervous. I was ready. I emailed Janelle first, attaching the newest audio recording my neighbor had captured from the HOA meeting. In it, Pierce said, "Once we get the county to declare his road a safety hazard, we can lien his property if he doesn't comply." The arrogance in his voice was astounding. He spoke like he'd already won, like the law was just another tool in his pocket. Janelle replied within 10 minutes. "This is enough. Let's proceed." 3 simple words, but they sent a ripple of satisfaction through me that I felt down to my fingertips. I drove into town to sign documents at her office. Her desk was neat, the air smelling faintly of lemon polish and old paper, a comforting contrast to the chaos the HOA had tried to bring into my life. She pushed a stack of papers toward me. "Formal complaint," she said. "Civil harassment claim, trespassing claim, request for injunction, and evidence submission notices." I signed each page slowly, deliberately, making sure my name was clear and bold. When the last signature was done, she gathered everything and said, "They have no idea what's coming." "That's the point," I said. The next step of my plan involved timing. HOA board members loved routine. They did inspections on Saturdays, meetings on Tuesdays, and harassment on whatever day ended in why I used that predictability to my advantage. 2 days later, at dawn on Saturday, the trail camera at the road bend captured Pierce and Trevor again. This time, they were measuring the width of my road with a tape measure and placing cones along the shoulder. They were staging a fake obstruction, creating a false record of narrow access. Their golf cart was parked diagonally across the entrance like a barricade. I watched the footage on my phone before I even got out of bed. The sun wasn't up yet, but my grin was. They had just given me the final nail I needed. At 7:42 a.m., they rang my gate buzzer. I stepped outside slowly, letting the gravel crunch beneath my boots as I approached them. Pierce stood tall, clipboard in hand, sunglasses reflecting the morning light like a shield. "We're conducting a safety evaluation," he said. I didn't say a word. I let the silence settle between us like dust. Then I raised my phone and hit record. "You have no legal authority to be on my property," I said. "And you were here before sunrise. That's trespassing." Trevor opened his mouth, but I kept talking. "This conversation is being recorded. Please leave," Pierce smirked. "We're documenting your known compliance. You can't intimidate us with your camera." "You're right," I said calmly. "I don't have to. The judge will do that for me." For the first time since this whole conflict began, I saw something flicker across Pierce's expression. Not fear, not yet, but doubt. The first crack in the armor. They left, muttering to each other as they drove their golf cart back into their neat little subdivision. I waited until they were fully gone before heading inside and sending the footage directly to Janelle. Her response was instant. Perfect. "We're filing Monday." Monday arrived like the opening scene of a courtroom drama. Janelle filed every document before noon, submitting my evidence packet, over 150 pages of documented harassment, trespass, conspiracy, and misrepresentation, to the county clerk. She also filed for a temporary restraining order preventing the HOA or its board members from entering my property without permission. When she called to confirm everything had been accepted, I felt a tightness in my chest loosen for the first time in months. But the real confrontation, planned carefully, meticulously, was still ahead. That evening, I attended the HOA meeting. Not because I was part of the HOA, not because I had to, but because it was legal to attend as a community visitor, and because it was the perfect opportunity for the truth to land directly in their laps. The meeting room was a repurposed clubhouse with white walls, harsh fluorescent lighting, and a long conference table in the center. Board members sat around it like they were conducting a corporate takeover of a lemonade stand. Pierce looked surprised when I walked in. Trevor stiffened. A few homeowners whispered. I took a seat in the back row, folding my hands in my lap. Pierce cleared his throat and said, "This meeting is for HOA members only. Public portion is open," I replied. "That's in your bylaws." Section 3C. A couple of homeowners turned to look at him. He didn't like that. He moved on to the agenda with forced composure. First item, unresolved roadway complaint. He projected a photo of my gravel road onto the wall, dramatically sighing as if he were unveiling a tragedy. "This is the road in question," he announced. "It poses a clear safety risk." "No," I said, cutting him off. My voice was calm, even, measured, "but it does pose a legal risk for you." Every head turned toward me. Pierce's jaw tightened. "This is not your floor," he snapped. "Actually," I said, standing slowly, "it is now." I pulled out my folder and placed it on the table beside him. He opened it and froze. Inside was a copy of the civil complaint, the injunction request, and a receipt timestamped by the county clerk's office that morning. "What is this?" he asked. "Due process," I said. "You'll be served the official copies tomorrow. But I wanted you to know tonight, since you brought my road onto your agenda, that the county and the courts will be handling all future conversations." The room erupted into murmurs. A woman in the front row whispered, "Oh my God." Pierce looked pale. Trevor's hand shook so visibly that he dropped his pen. I kept going. "You've trespassed on my land multiple times. You've falsified complaints. You've staged evidence. You've conspired in writing to pressure me illegally. And you sent county-marked stakes to make it seem like they were planning a project they weren't. You can't prove," Pierce began. "I can," I said. "And I have audio, video, emails, screenshots, everything." Silence that followed felt like the deep inhale before an explosion. But there was no explosion. Just the slow, suffocating realization settling over Pierce, like a net he couldn't escape from. "You wanted a fight," I said quietly. "And you're getting one. In court, where it actually matters." I picked up my folder, turned, and walked out of the room. No one stopped me. No one said a word. Outside, the cool night air hit my face like a cleansing wave. My plan had moved from preparation to execution, and now the confrontation was underway. Soon, the legal consequences would follow ones they had created with their own hands. Revenge didn't feel hot. It felt cold, precise, and incredibly satisfying. The legal consequences began unfolding before the sun had even risen over the ridge. My phone buzzed at 6:12 a.m. with a message from Janelle. "Service completed," it read. "They have the papers." I lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, feeling a strange mixture of calm and anticipation wash over me. Months of harassment, trespassing, threats, and intimidation, all of it, had finally been shoved into the only arena where their arrogance meant nothing. At 8:03 a.m., the first call came. Unknown number. I didn't answer. They didn't leave a voicemail. The second call came from a number I recognized, Trevor's office line. I let it ring until it fell silent. The third came from Pierce himself. This time he left a message, his voice clipped and tight, like someone trying not to let fear crack through the surface. "Caleb," he said, "we need to discuss this. This is unnecessary. We can work something out privately." I deleted it. By noon, the HOA Facebook page, usually full of petty complaints about mailbox paint and lawn heights, had erupted into panic. Someone posted, "Why were board members served legal papers this morning?" Another wrote, "Did they trespass? What is going on?" A third, "I didn't vote for this. I didn't agree to any of this." I took screenshots, not because I needed more evidence, but because watching the cracks spread through their perfect little kingdom was its own reward. That evening, Janelle called with an update. They've already contacted an attorney, she said. Good, I replied. They'll need one. The judge granted the temporary restraining order, she continued. They cannot enter your property, approach your home, or interfere with your easement in any way. I exhaled slowly, a long overdue release. Thank you, I said. We're not done, she added. No, I said, we're not. The court hearing was scheduled for the following Thursday. The courtroom was colder than I expected, the hum of fluorescent lights filling the quiet between conversations. Pierce and Trevor sat at the defendant's table, their posture stiff, their once practiced confidence gone. Their lawyer, a thin man with silver hair and a voice too soft for his own profession, kept whispering to them, flipping through the binder of evidence Janelle had submitted. When the judge entered, everyone stood. He adjusted his glasses, glanced at the case file in front of him, and said, "This is extensive." I caught the faintest hint of disbelief in his tone. Janelle began by presenting the video evidence. The footage from my trail cameras played on a monitor beside the bench. The judge leaned forward as he watched Pierce and Trevor wander my road at 1:47 a.m., shining flashlights into my ditches, taking photos, kicking gravel. He paused the footage and turned to them. "Gentlemen," he said, "were you aware that this property was not within your HOA jurisdiction?" Pierce cleared his throat. "We believed, yes or no?" the judge snapped. Pierce swallowed. "No." Next came the audio recording from their HOA meeting. Pierce's voice filled the courtroom. "We are pushing him out one way or another." Trevor's voice chimed in. "If the county doesn't side with us, we'll force it." The judge's brow furrowed so deeply, it nearly folded in on itself. Then Janelle handed him the email thread, the one outlining their strategic pressure plan. He read silently for nearly a full minute. Everyone waited. Finally, he lowered the paper and said, "This is a problem." Trevor closed his eyes like he was bracing for impact. Pierce clenched his jaw. When it was my turn to speak, I rose slowly. "My family has lived on that land for over 40 years, I said. "We've always maintained the road the way the county permits. I'm not under HOA jurisdiction, and I never have been." They knew that, but they kept escalating trespassing, harassing, and trying to manipulate county officials. I documented everything. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was targeted. The judge nodded. "You've come prepared," he said. "I had to," I replied. Pierce tried to counter. He claimed I had been hostile, uncooperative, unwilling to be a good neighbor. But their lawyer could barely string together a cohesive defense when the evidence contradicted every syllable leaving their mouths. The judge took only 10 minutes to deliberate. When he returned, he spoke without hesitation. "Here is my ruling," he said. "Mr. Pierce, Mr. Trevor, and the HOA as an entity acted beyond their legal authority and engaged in repeated acts of trespass, harassment, and misrepresentation." Pierce's face drained of color. Trevor stared at the table. The judge continued, "A permanent injunction is granted. You are prohibited from entering Mr. Hayes's property or attempting to enforce any HOA-related demands upon it." I inhaled deeply. He wasn't done. "You will also reimburse Mr. Hayes for all legal fees associated with this case." Their lawyer blinked rapidly. "And," the judge added, "you will pay a civil penalty for trespassing and falsifying complaints to county officials." Silence. Thick, heavy, satisfying. When the hearing adjourned, Pierce approached me in the hallway. He looked smaller than I had ever seen him. "Caleb," he said quietly, We didn't think it would get this far." I stared at him for a long moment. "You should have," I said. Then I turned and walked away. The payoff wasn't explosive. It wasn't loud. It was clean, complete, exact. The HOA board held an emergency election 2 weeks later. Pierce resigned. Trevor quit the same day. Their replacements sent me a formal apology letter signed and notarized by all board members. It was polite. It was cautious. It was terrified. My gate hasn't been touched since. My road, my gravel, county-approved rural road still winds through my property, exactly as it always has, crunching pleasantly under my tires every time I drive it. The epilogue came quietly. One afternoon, months later, I stood at the bend near the pasture, watching sunlight glitter across the gravel. I realized something important. Revenge hadn't changed who I was. It had protected who I'd always been. A landowner. A quiet man. Someone who didn't start fights, but always finished them. I kicked a small stone with the toe of my boot and smiled. Some battles aren't fought with fists. Some are fought with patience, truth, and every ounce of determination a person has. And when you win those battles, you win them forever. If you want more stories like this, just ask. I've got plenty. The end.